throughout this whole process, people always have that question of how do you confess to something you didn't do, right? And so everybody gets defensive. Well, if it's me, I wouldn't say anything. But it always comes due to experience, right?
Yes.
Have you ever, if you've been pulled over by the police, you have certain
Yeah.
expressions, whether you upset or you afraid, right? Because all
Mhm.
due to experience. So for us going into those interrogation rooms, it starts off calm, right? Hey, Raymond, you was out last night with some friends. What did you see happen? Take us to the story, right? And then you take them through the story of what I saw, right? Because I never seen no assaults and stuff like that happen. And so then it becomes, well, wait a minute, what about this woman? And you go, what woman?
Just Heal with Dr. J is going to be a space where we foster healing conversations, conversations that are life enriching, conversations that are going to provoke thought, that's going to provoke change, and also provide insight. And so that's what I'm excited about. What's up, family? My name is Dr. J. Barnett, mental health expert and marriage and family therapist. Listen, I'm excited to welcome you guys to another episode of the Just Heal with Dr. J podcast, brought to you by the Black Effect Network and iHeartMedia. I'm excited about this guest that I get to sit down and talk with today. As you know, the Just Heal is a space for us to foster healing and to create conversations that will enlighten and enrich the mind of our listeners and our viewers. Because also we do have a YouTube channel, Just Heal Dr. J. So go and subscribe there. And also, wherever you listen to podcasts, please tap in on the Black Effect Network and iHeartMedia and Apple. Again, wherever you listen to podcasts, please tap in with us. So I'm excited to bring this guest. Many of you have seen the story. Some of you had an opportunity to watch the docu-series that was so beautifully done by the actors. And I'm excited to have one of the five brothers from the Central Park Five with us today in the studio. My brother Raymond Santana. Welcome, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
So I just want to go briefly, man, in your bio, because you are an activist that many may not know, entrepreneur, and of course one of the five exonerated five, formerly known as the Central Park Five. And in 1989, Santana was wrongfully convicted along with the four other Black and Latino teenagers in the infamous Central Park joggers case. And after serving nearly 7 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, he was exonerated in 2002 when the real perpetrator confessed and DNA evidence confirmed his guilt. Now, just reading that evoked some emotions within me internally because I couldn't imagine what it's like to not only be considered as a suspect for a crime that you did not commit, but to not only be a suspect, but then to go to convicted and having to serve time in the prison. And me being in the mental health space and having worked with individuals that are in the system, having worked with individuals that have received a number of years mentally and psychologically, man, I don't know how I would be able to process that. And here you are today, brother. You look well, man. You're looking good. Look like you're aging backwards,
I'm
man.
trying, man. I'm
Man, you're
trying.
not trying, man. You're doing, black man. You're doing. I always say if you try, you would never start.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
So
right.
no, man. So if you could just, man, just talk to the audience, and of course we're gonna unpack it a little bit, but just what has been your journey psychologically since coming home, and of course it's many years ago, but just even as even as you have aged as a black man.
For me, I look back at the journey, right? 30 plus years. And it has been a journey of continuous growth. Some of it, out of my hands. I have no way of fighting it. Some things I can control. But I looked at it as a 30-year process of growth. I was convicted at the age of 14. As a 14-year-old kid living in East Harlem, I never had no runners with the law. Didn't know who Miranda was, right? never had no dealings. And so when this happens to me at the age of 14, I'm completely blindsided because it was never no pressure on me to choose a profession as a 14-year-old kid,
Right.
right? You know, I love this. I was in my sketchbook. I love to listen to hip hop music, right? Back then we had VHS. So my dad would have me record movies for him. I would record videos and watch videos. So I was a typical 14-year-old kid. And on the night of April 19th, you know, hanging out with friends, being a follower, right? You know, the plan was to go to the Schaumburg houses, and there was a party over there, and there was this nice little young honey that I used to talk to back then, so I wanted to go see her. You know, going over to Schaumburg houses, I didn't know the other four guys. I never met Yusuf, didn't know Corey, didn't know Antron, didn't know Kevin,
Wow.
right? This was a situation that happened because there was mutual friends in the group. The Schaumburg boys hung out, you know, in front of their building all the time. So the entrance to Central Park was like their playground, right? And so I went over there with a bunch of friends, you know, trying to be tough. We back then we going to other neighborhoods. You came in there with numbers, right? Because that's just how things were back then. And so, you know, it was mutual friends in the group, and just hanging out with dudes in the front of Schaumburg led to going to the park. And another thing was that originally, I'm born in Harlem, raised in the Bronx, and then I came back to Harlem. So when I come back, I never really had dealings with Central Park.
Wow.
So that was another thing. So here I was being a follower, following the group into the park of something that I really had no knowledge of. Right. And so I get arrested that night. And for us, we're given a death appearance ticket. It's a family court issue because we're charged with um menacing, trespassing, riot. So we're given like misdemeanor charges. And so we're supposed to be seeing the judge within 2 days. So now we just gotta wait for the family members to come pick us up. And it's in the wee hours in the morning that they find this woman who's bound and gagged in a bloody ravine, and she has lost so much blood that they're thinking it's going to be a homicide case, right? And so this is how the Homicide North Detective Squad comes in, you know, to interrogate 14 and 15-year-old kids. And so the landscape was it was never even. Playing field was never even.
Yeah.
These are 20-year plus veterans. This was the elite of the police force. We were 14 and 15-year-old kids who never dealt with the law, didn't even know what to expect in those interrogation rooms. And then it just went haywire from there.
And you know, when you're watching the film on Netflix, and the interrogation room uh was so emotional, man.
Yes.
And I'll be transparent. I cried like a baby watching that,
Yeah.
because I couldn't imagine being a little black boy, 14 years old, and the way that you were cornered,
Yes.
and you're just like, man, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on. And to see a young boy be in such a vulnerable state and no one not be able to speak up for him.
Yeah.
What was that like, if you could step back into that, man? Because that scene
Hmm.
in the interrogation room, man, carries such weight emotionally, because you can feel it coming off the screen.
Yeah. That's the part that we needed people to understand, because a lot of people throughout this whole process, people always have that question of how do you confess to something you didn't do, right? And so everybody gets defensive. Well, if it's me, I wouldn't say anything. But it always comes due to experience, right?
Yes.
Have you ever, you know, if you've been pulled over by the police, you know, you have certain
Yeah.
expressions, whether you upset or you afraid, right? Because all
Mhm.
due to experience. So for us going into those interrogation rooms, it starts off calm, right? Hey Raymond, you know, you was out last night with some friends. What did you see happen? Take us to the story, right? And then you take them through the story of what I saw, right? Because I never seen no assaults and stuff like that happen. And so then it becomes, well, wait a minute, what about this woman? And you go, what woman? And that's when you become blindsided. And so, you know, for us as 14 to 15-year-old kids, it's estimated that we are in those interrogation rooms for 15 to 30 hours, right? Yeah. With
Wow.
no food, no drink, you know, we're
Oh,
just in there under pressure. And so for me, my grandmother sat in the room with me. So a lot of times the police had to interpret, because she spoke little English, right? She knew English curse words, but she couldn't carry a conversation in English.
right.
So they would have to stop and translate, and that became too long. So now they figured out the way to get her out the room. And then once they got her out the room is when they start to work on me. Right.
Man.
And that's how it goes. It's something that happens over a long period of time, and it gets you to a point of helplessness so much that you feel like you are cornered. You feel like there is no other way around it. And to the point that you feel like you're not even going to make it out the precinct alive. Excuse me. And so for me, it's a point in the film where Detective Arroyo gets mad and he bangs on the table and he reaches over because he wants to grab me. And at that moment, I feel like he's going to kill me. I feel like he's going to, I'm not going to make it out the precinct. And at that same moment, another detective comes in and he stops him. Right. And I just felt like, whew, he saved my life.
Wow.
Right. And so and this is the good cop, bad cop that we see on CSI, Law and Order. But back then we didn't understand that as 14-year-old
No,
kids.
no.
Right.
And didn't understand either the psychology on
No.
how they play off of the
Yeah.
different questions.
Yeah. I didn't even know that there was a read technique, which is 7 steps on how you get somebody to confess. Like, this stuff is legal. They can sit here and lie to you. They can sit here and lie to you and tell you, we have the DNA. We don't need you. And so for me, when he kicks that officer out the room and I feel like he saved my life, here comes the pitch. Raymond, I know you a good kid. I know you ain't do these things. But these kids, they in other precincts saying that you did something. And he's like, I need your help. Right. And I don't even know what to say as a 14-year-old kid because I never been in no situation like this. So how do you even start to describe it? And so he pulls out this picture of Kevin Richardson. He slides it to me. He says, do you know him? And I say, no. And he says, well, you see the scratch on her eye. That came from the woman. Now, I know he going to prison, but I don't want you to go to prison.
Wow.
So I need your help. And then he just sat back. And, in business, right, the first person who talks is the one that loses.
Yep.
I'm a 14-year-old kid. This isn't, right? So in my mind, I'm formulating a lie. How can I stop this pressure from continuing? Right? And so then I go, okay, well, it was Kevin. And he says, okay, but what did Kevin do? I don't know. So now he has to kind of walk me through it. And this is what he does, even down to where he says, this woman had a lot of injuries around her face and her eyes. We didn't know she lost a lot of blood. Something had to be used, Raymond, a rock, a brick, a pipe, something. But at that moment, he's giving me options. He's telling me, pick one. I don't know the injuries. I don't know the severity of it. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what weapon is used. But he gave me options: a rock, a brick, a pipe. Something was used. And I go, a brick was used. And he says, okay, who used the brick? So now I got to place somebody with the brick.
With the brick.
Right? And so you go from that to when you go to trial, the brick is produced. Like, this is the brick. It makes the front page of the newspaper. And this is what we had to deal with. When you're going against a whole system, a whole city that labels you as a wolf pack, as urban terrorists, as a wilding, right? What they did was they set the stage so that America can be so mad and hurt by us that they would turn their backs on us.
Man. And which takes me into this next question. I've worked with the Latino community for a number of years. That culture is a very tight-knit culture.
Yes.
What was that impact like with your family when the verdict came down?
Before the verdict, I mean, within the first 2 weeks of this case, it's estimated that over 300 to 400 articles was written about us, dissecting the lives of 14 and 15-year-old kids, how we were these bad apples, right? So it set the stage for people Donald Trump puts out the $85,000 page ad calling for the death penalty. Pat Buchanan writes an article where he says that Corey, who's the oldest, needs to be hung in Central Park and the rest of us need to be horsewhipped. In 89, 90, people are calling for our castration. People calling for us to die. We received numerous death threats. And so it becomes extra hard on the family, right? I came from a big family. My dad has 3 brothers on one side. My mama has 5, 6. And my bill was $25,000. Nobody wanted to put up the money because they believed the narrative. The narrative was hit so hard that people took it hook, line, and sinker.
Even the family.
Even the family.
And knowing that you were this 14-year-old kid that loved music, were making movies for your dad, and everybody bought into the narrative that Raymond did it.
Yeah, they're guilty of something.
Man, how was that
I mean, coming from a strong
for
culture, right? I'm Puerto Rican. And so the whole family turns their back. Nobody wants to assist. I go through the system, all right? I write Puerto Rican Defense Fund, I write legal aid, no answer, right? For the first 10 years of this case, it isn't even documented that I'm a Puerto Rican kid. Everybody believes that it's 5 black boys. They don't even
wow,
acknowledge that I'm Puerto Rican. And this is
wow,
how it goes, and so it isn't until years later I meet a psychologist and he says, "You Puerto Rican?" And I go, "Yeah." And he says, "Wow, all these years we never knew this. It
wow.
never was documented."
And I'm sitting here, putting myself in the shoes as a black man, and I remember at 14, my parents had divorced, and I'm thinking about as an adolescent when you experience those traumas in those adolescent years, what it does to you psychologically and physiologically, because now the brain has been reprogrammed.
Yes.
And once it's been reprogrammed, there's such a work that has to be done because you can't talk your way out of the freedom of what you've experienced, because not only were you in prison from a physical perspective, but also mentally and emotionally. And I know you can't unpack all of this, but that process, man,
Yeah.
just I want to think about this question because I want to ask, did you ever forgive your family, or
Yes.
is that still a process for
Later on, once we get to the Ken Burns doc, and we're doing the run with the doc, some of my family members they was in California and they came to visit. We was at the AFI festival, and they came to visit and they got to see the doc, and some of them apologized,
you? Wow.
and at that point, I accept the apology because you can't just stay bitter forever,
Yeah.
right? That like Yusuf always says, if you stay bitter, then it eats you from within.
Yeah. But what is that when they said that they were sorry, how did your body respond to that
Um,
apology?
it's a I told you so, right? It's one of those moments like I told you, like you didn't believe me,
Yeah.
and you got to let them sit in that for a little bit.
Right.
They got to feel that fire.
And for those that are listening, it really wasn't the man that was saying "I told you so." It was a 14-year-old
Hundred
boy
percent.
that was saying, "I told you."
Yeah, he gets to speak now.
Listen, now you in my field, because I don't think we realize that most times when we have experienced things as adolescents and children,
Yeah,
and when we become adults, and when there is a moment of liberation, though it is the adult speaking, but it's really the child's voice, or it's the adolescent voice, or it's the voice of the innocent one, the one that were exploited in their moment of vulnerability. And what I'm loving about this Raymond is that the 14-year-old Raymond got a moment to
yeah,
speak for himself.
yeah. No, I knew that heavy. I knew and he gets it several times. He doesn't
Wow.
just get that one moment.
Yes.
He gets
Yes.
that moment several times.
Man,
No,
and that's
definitely,
important that
it
he
is.
has that moment
It's
several
important.
times.
Yeah,
Man, I'm so like I'm just so excited to hear, because as a therapist I've sat with so many different clients that have come from many different walks of life. But what I'm enjoying about this is I can feel that your soul is liberated.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I can feel it, because I don't care what nobody say. You can tell when somebody's still bound by something,
Yes.
and I can tell that your soul is liberated, and that your spirit is free. What is that like for you?
For me, going through the process, right? It's like you're a kid not having a voice, and then at some point having a voice, and then understanding what the voice is supposed to do, right? And then utilizing the voice. Like I said, it's a constant thing of growth. And so for me, um, it's a powerful moment, you know, because it's always a constant level of growth. keep calling my phone.
Right.
Sorry. There's always a constant level of growth, and for me, with the motivation becomes like it's like because you have all these downs, up and down, but understand that they're supposed to happen, right? Understanding that it's a part of the process. It's
Yeah.
how you view it, right? What you put into it, right? I had to learn that in prison, right? Because you're not going anywhere. So when you stuck, what do you the work that you put in
Yeah.
is hopefully the growth that you get later on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that took me a minute to understand that. So it's the constant up and downs, but understanding that you do got to have those ups and downs in order to build some type of growth.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, man. When you were in incarcerated, did you read any books?
Yeah.
What book? I gotta know this. What book that you read that stood out to you and that really shifted your
It's
perspective?
a moment. It's when I'm in prison, I wind up going to because at the time they had the GED program. So I get the GED program, and then there's a college program. At that point, this is before Pataki comes in '95, and he pulls the college program out of prisons. And so I remember taking this Black Studies class, and there was this professor by the name of Latif Islam, who was a towering figure, deep voice. When he spoke, everybody listened, right? And that kind of sparked me a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because it was an authority figure. And so he gave us this book for the syllabus, but also on the syllabus was like 5 other books. And I remember being a smart aleck in class and saying, "Why you give us all these books if we only using one?" And he says, "Young brother, you don't understand it right now, but one day you will. It will be a part of your arsenal." And I looked at him like, yeah, all right, whatever. And it wasn't until I got through that class, right, that kind of sparked something in me to understand what happened to me and how that plays into, you know, into the modern times. And then I went and looked at the books, right? And there's always the Malcolm X, right?
Right.
Biography of
Yeah.
Malcolm X, which is like basic.
Yeah.
That's the foundation. And then there was Miseducation of Negro by Carter G. Wilson,
Yep.
People's History by Howard Zinn, right?
Oh, these are great books.
Great books. Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And
Wow.
so I gave those books to my daughter. My daughter reads those books now. I still
Wow.
have them to this day. I don't even know how they've been with me all these years, but they have survived.
Wow.
And my daughter, they now in Georgia, so she reads them now. And so those books started to shape, right, the mentality of, wait a minute, something happened to us. This was a sinister plan, and it worked. And now I'm sitting here serving time, trying to figure out how, right? Because now I'm growing in the system. I don't leave exit that system till I'm 21. So I get to do a lot of reflecting, a lot of growth there, and those become the books.
Wow.
Yeah, those become the books.
And I think is imperative for brothers that are listening and for the women that love the brothers. It's imperative to encourage brothers not to just read, but to seek knowledge.
Seek knowledge.
Not to just read, but to seek knowledge and also to seek growth. Because I've run into a lot of brothers, man, that have not grown beyond leaving high school or their greatest moments.
Yeah,
And to hear you, because one of my favorite books is The Miseducation of a Negro by Carter G. Woodson, who is the grandfather of Black history.
that's right.
You do not have to concern yourself with what a man do if you can control how a man thinks.
That's right.
I mean, I'm just
That's right.
like, dude, give me more.
Yeah,
And just to think about your growth today, your healing journey, which is continuous, uh, and to think about where you are now, running for office. When you think about your legacy and you think about your path over the past 30 years, man, give me 3 words that stands out to you.
I sometimes it's unbelievable to see how far unthinkable, right? If somebody sat there and said, "Hey, you're gonna go through this in 30 years from now, you're gonna be here," I would have been like, "You crazy."
Wow.
I wouldn't even take the chance. Nah, I'm good. I'll go the other direction,
Yeah.
right? But the ups and downs, again, the positives that come out of this process that turn into motivational factors, right? Me having a daughter, me investing in her, right? Turning her into an entrepreneur and she listens, right? And for me, even when you get to office, like I never thought I'd be running for office. I knew I was an activist because I fought against the criminal justice system for so many years, and I knew that was my lane, and I knew I had a voice, and I knew I had a platform, and I knew that I can help, right? But I never thought public office would be the way.
Yeah.
But when I looked at it, it became a natural form of progression, right? I fought against the system for all these years. One, I get to relax for a little bit. I get to decompress. But then I start to feel like an old prize fighter who's retired. But I'm not supposed to be retired,
Yeah.
right? I'm supposed to still be in the mix because I'm still young. I still got
Yeah.
everything. God equipped me with the tools to say you can go out there and still put in work.
Yeah.
It ain't over. And 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 it's at that point that I start to look at what's my next battle. And then I start to look at my neighborhood, right? Going through my neighborhood and see um the disparities that plague my neighborhood on the daily, right? Not enough affordable housing, um, not enough school programs, the mental health that walks through my neighborhood on a regular basis,
Mm.
right? The drug paraphernalia. And so I'm like, if anybody's gonna do it,
Why not you?
why not me? Right. My daughter, she helps in that because she becomes the motivating factor for a lot of things that I do. And when I talk to her about it, she's like, if you're gonna do it, be about it. Right.
Yeah.
But even then, I struggle with that. So even though I had her blessing, I didn't have the blessing from the man upstairs.
Yeah. Pause. I want you to pause
Mhm.
because I believe so many men need to hear that, Raymond, is discerning when to move and when not to move. And to think about that you said, I have my daughter's blessing, but I don't have the man upstairs blessing.
Yeah.
Now, when you got the man upstairs blessing, what was your next move? Or should I say next step?
I jumped on the flight and came here. That was it. Like the man upstairs said, "This is where you need to go."
So you
No,
waited for direction.
I waited for that, and that's the credibility that I feel I have with God is that I know when to sit and wait for direction.
I'm gonna throw my notes. I'm gonna throw my notes because so many men need to learn that because it's wisdom.
It is.
And it's also knowing when it's the right season and timing of a thing. And brother, like you just blessed me because that's how I move.
Yeah,
If I don't feel it and I haven't gotten clear instructions on it, I gotta sit still.
yeah. Even in this process, I threw obstacles on purpose and said, "Nah, handle that. If you want me to go, handle that." And then it got handled, and I was like, "Ugh, okay, you serious about this one?"
Man, you sound like the prophet where he was just like, he was like, yo, I'm gonna test you, God. I'm gonna put this wood out here. Let me see what you're gonna do with it.
And it wasn't. I didn't ask no silly questions. I mean, it was God. If you want me to go do this, you know where my heart is with this child. How do we work that? Because I'm a father. You know that. You know I'm taking care of this one. And he says, "All right, I got you." And when he does it, it's like, what's your excuse now? All right, well, you know it's gonna be a problem for me to go to New York City and get some housing. Done. I went up there, stood in the hotel for 4 days. My apartment was ready. There's no matter how you put it, there's no way. You got it. All right, this is what we doing. Okay, let's go. And we announced our run. We've been on the run now about maybe 3 weeks. Um, and I mean, what people don't understand is that they think that I'm here to get a city councilman position. And God tell me, nah, you here to get the people. The people are going to give you the city councilman position. You got to get them first.
Wow.
And that becomes the motivation. That's why we in the projects knocking on the doors, talking to people and they're looking at me like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm here to get your perspective on what you need because I can't go in there and argue for you if I haven't talked to you first
Wisdom.
all day.
I can't speak up for you if I don't understand the need. That's wisdom, man. Man, Raymond, listen, man, I can talk to you all day, brother, because you're blessing me, man, because I love men who operate in wisdom.
Yeah,
I love men who operate instructions and in order because I think that's what we need more of. And I wanted to dive into this, but I didn't because just to think the person who took out an ad on, you guys' fate is the same person who's running this country now. And and
100%.
and and I don't even it's just like, are you kidding me, man? But and I don't want to give that too much energy because what you just shared here today, um, with the audience of just your journey, man, has not only inspired me, but it's encouraged me because not only are you reflective of your journey, but you're reflective of who kept you
100%.
on your journey.
Yeah.
Because I say that often, man. Like if you'd have told me I would be a therapist and be a doctor like 20 years ago, I've been like, no, because I'm an all sports guy. I'm like sitting down talking to people about mental health, like, get out of here. But just to see how the journey unfolds when we lean into the process and to see healing is really tied to surrendering.
Yeah.
And so in closing, you surrender. In closing, I ask every guest this: what does healing means to you, Raymond?
For me, healing is a continuous process, right? It's the overcoming of obstacles, of scars. Um, it's just the ability to do what's right at the end of the day. For me, I had to overcome that several times. Like once I learned I had a voice, then I had to use the voice. Once you start using the voice, it became therapeutic, right? I traveled, me and Yusuf probably did the most traveling all across the country talking to students, right? And so that became therapeutic to sit in front of them and tell them my story and then engage with them. And then also we did some good in the process, right? And so for me, it always, healing has always been continuous until I get to this point of running for office, right? It's at that point because I go through a divorce, right? I go through a divorce, highly publicized divorce. I come back to New York City, um, and so the healing, it, it, it when I get to this point of stepping into what I can perceive as my purpose,
Mhm.
right? That's when it becomes like a full fledged surrendering. Cause now I see
Gotcha.
it, right? He's showing me this is what I have in store for you. You got to step in because you have no other direction. So it becomes a surrendering. All
Yes.
right, God, you know what? You're right. You got me. We here now. Let's walk through the door. And I think that once I stepped into that of chasing the purpose,
Mm.
nothing else, because the most important thing to me is my child is taken care of because he said he got her. I can just 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 fully indulge in just the glory, right? I can be like, yo, we here now. Like I can have these conversations. I can converse with God like that.
Yes.
Where I'm like, yo, you really want me to do this? Right. But my circle is extremely small. Um, because I don't want the outside influences. I don't want the negative energy,
Yeah.
right? Because the purpose is that big. If I'm able to get into office and make some type of change that the people can see, it can start something,
Can start.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. That's why I said I'm not here for the position. I'm here for the people. The people are gonna give me the position because they see me worthy of it. And that's my whole campaign pitch. People go, well, people they lost hope. They feel beat down. They feel defeated through the politics. And I go, I'm not a politician. I'm just a man who loves his community. And I'm here sent by God. He told me to come here. So it's really up to y'all.
Man.
I'm here to do the work. If you let me, if you support me, if you allow me. I asked them, I said, in politics, Me as one person is going against an entity that has been in power in East Harlem and the
Yeah.
South Bronx for 20 plus years. And I'm coming in to bring some change. It's clean cut. Either you want the change or you don't. I'm just here to show you that it can be possible. It's here.
Listen, I don't know what you took away from this conversation, but the one thing that I hope that you take away is what Raymond said is that healing is continual. It is a continual process. And I'm not sure where you are on your journey. And you may be just beginning, you may be in the middle, you may be on the end. And you may feel like, I'm taking a break because I think sometimes you have to take a break from therapy, take a break from anything that you may feel that is healing or therapeutic, because sometimes the body just needs a moment to just be. And I hope that you had an opportunity to experience what being is and operating in your purpose after experience trauma, going through something that has probably looked like you would not come out of it. And today you got to hear from an example from Raymond, to hear what his 30 plus year journey has been navigating life, just from a 14-year-old kid to now being a man who's running for office, a man who is for the people. And I love what he said. I cannot speak for you until I know what you need. And I don't know about you guys. He has my vote. And so what I would love to leave the listeners with is, it doesn't matter where you are. You can always start over. And starting over doesn't mean that you're starting from scratch.
That's right.
You
That's right.
just pick up with what you have, and maybe what you have is all that you need to continue the process. And brother, what I am praying for you, Raymond, is that this campaign, man, is seamless, it's encouraging, and it's invigorating to those that you're going to encounter. And I pray that the team and that those that are supporting you continue to undergird you, man. And I'm praying for a victory, because we need more brothers like yourself that are representing the people and not representing themselves, man.
Thank
And so, brother, I want to thank you for having this conversation, man, with me, on the Just Heal with Dr. J podcast, brought to you by the Black Effect and iHeartMedia. Listen, family, this is what we do here. We heal.
you.
We have healing conversations. And so please, wherever you listen to podcasts, please tap into the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartMedia and Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. And also subscribe to Just Heal Dr. J, where you can watch us live and watch the playback of our interviews. Until next time, remember, healing is a journey and wholeness is the destination.